And then, like, I guess a couple of weeks later, Harold Ramis, it was lunch break, and he said, hey, Mike, do you play pool? I was like, yeah, I like, sure, Mr. Ramis, I like pool. And he's like, well, would you mind playing pool with me during lunch? I'm like, no, that's So it was just set, it was a bar, and it had a pool table, and I'm playing pool with Harold Ramis, and he says, you know, hi, are you having fun, Mike? You like being in my movie? And I'm like, yes, Mr. Ramis, yes, I do. And he said, have you had any, you know, has anything happened? And I'm like, well, I do think that that Mr. Murray doesn't like me very much. And he said, why? And I said, well, he was listening to Talking Heads one day, and I went up to him, and I said, oh, you're listening to Talking Heads? And of course, he was listening to Talking Heads. It was the dumbest thing I could have possibly said. And he just looked at me like I was really dumb, and then I ran away, and I don't think he likes me. And he's like, hey, don't worry, I know he likes you. I'm like, what, you talked about it? He's like, no, but I know he likes you, don't worry about it. I'm like, oh, okay. So finally, I have one scene where I actually like talk to him and interact with him. And it's the end, it's the big dance, and there's like 100 people in the room, and all these people around, and it's very complicated. Like him and Annie McDowell are dancing around the room, and they keep having scenes with different people. And so they finally get to me and my little, we're newlyweds, and he gives us tickets to WrestleMania, and we get there, and at right as I'm about to say my first line, Harold's like, Mike, wait, Bill has something he wants to say to you. I'm like, what? And Bill turns and he's like, hey, Mike, I like you. Don't worry. I wasn't upset that you said that. I like you fine. And I was so embarrassed. I was just like, oh my God. He went and told him that I said that to him. So I guess that was the story you were trying to dig out of me. I don't know.
Thanks. Well, we'd like to hear your questions. We're recording our conversation, so if you raise your hand, we'll bring a microphone to you. If you could wait to read the microphone. There's somebody over here, and then somebody down here.
Hi, I love this movie. I love the depth of it and the mournful quality you were speaking of. And I wanted to say to Mike, last year I was so rooting for you for the Academy Award because Revolutionary Road, I love the movie, but it was emotionally messy, and your part was just so beautiful. There's truth and madness, and I just loved your part, and I loved your acting in it. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was an incredible opportunity that I'll be grateful for forever. I love that book. It's one of my favorite books, and I read that they were making a movie in the newspaper. I didn't even know they were making a movie out of it, and I almost had a heart attack because I hadn't heard anything about it. And I just called up and got an audition. I said, I'll do anything. I'll do craft service. I don't care. I just want to be there. And so I got the part, and yeah, thank you. And I just wondered, in Bad Lieutenant, was your part originally larger because it was such a small part? And I was No, the story behind that is that I was meeting with Werner about My Son, and the producer had set this meeting up, and I show up for the meeting, and the producer's there, and Werner's not there. I said, what happened? And he's like, I'm really embarrassed. I really got egg on my face, but Werner got an offer to do The Bad Lieutenant with Nicolas Cage, and he's going to make a lot of money and really wants to do it. So he's going to do that instead of My Son. I'm like, oh. But he promises he'll do My Son someday. He's just not going to do it right now. I'm like, well, okay. But then I got on the phone with Werner, and he said, well, why don't you just come and do this little part, and then we can, like, get to know each other a little bit. So it was really just kind of an opportunity for us to spend a little time together, and I guess for him to kind of see if he wanted to work with me or not. It was kind of like an audition for the other one.
It's a really nice turn in the film. It's your character seems perpetually trembling at Nicolas Cage's presence. He'll do anything for him, but he's scared of him at the same time. It was very well. Yeah, it was. Nicolas Cage is, I mean, people say this and that about him, but when you're actually in his presence, he's pretty, he's got a lot of
vital energy. You know, it's very can be intimidating. I guess he's larger than life, really.
So it was an easy part to do.
Yeah. And he was out. I mean, he was just out of his mind.
I think we can count on him like every 5 or 6 years or so to just give a performance that's just completely out there, and that was definitely it.
Yeah.
In case you haven't had a chance to see it yet, we're showing it in April along with Abel Ferrara's Bad Lieutenant back to back. So hope you get a chance.
Funny.
Hi, I just wanted to ask about your role in Delocated.
Oh, Delocated, huh? Funny. Yeah, Delocated. Well, that's another Chicago. Do you know John Glazer? You remember John Glazer? He was I come from like Chicago theater background. One of the reasons I know Jim is I worked with his brother Pat, who was an actor in Chicago, and it's in Great World of Sound, all these things. But another guy I knew was John Glazer, who was at Second City and did plays and stuff. And John moved to New York, and he asked me to do a little short film called Gas Buds, which he put on some website. It was with some website that put out little funny movies or something. I don't know. And then after that, he said he was going to start making this show. So he asked me if I would do that little cameo for him. But he's just that's a long answer. He's just an old friend of mine. Yeah.
Yeah. There's somebody right there.
This is for Mollie. Mollie, I'm so proud of you.
This is my high school English teacher who first got me into film.
Yay!
Thank you.
All the time we spent talking about movies, Mollie. I have a question for you about, well, I guess whether they're homages or not, like showing the clips, the film clips that you chose to show, and those were deliberate choices, obviously, the references to, I love that. I thought I recognized that film. And then in the dream sequence where it looks almost like that, is it Edward Hopper painting when he's the woman in the theater?
Good work.
And that's paralleled by the kid's painting, right? That just blew me out of the water. It's just stunning. Is that in the script, or is that?
Yeah, that was, and in fact, it's a kid's painting because they couldn't clear the rights to the Hopper painting.
Wow,
so it had to be something that could call back to that image. And the idea is that when Mike is dreaming about his wife, she's in the movie theater, and it's Hell's Angels is the movie playing on the background. Then when he goes to take Harold back, he sees the painting in the hallway and sort of thinks about his wife, and Harold is off screen saying, please let me go. We actually tried a version where the actress who played Mike's wife was the one voicing "Please Let Me Go," but it ended up, we had this unintentionally sort of comic effect that it was like suddenly the painting was talking, and it was like cartoon. But so we left it as Harold's voice. But the idea is that he sees the painting and it makes him think of her, and then he realizes it's time to let go of the past, and so he's going to let Harold go too. But all the references were very deliberate and were very much about like the painting was in the script. The planes and everything, the Hell's Angels was a choice. We had one cut where we started the movie with a clip from Hell's Angels, and then we were like, no, we can't start our movie with someone else's movie. But it was all about building that environment. And that snow in the movie theater was a very last minute thing. I was actually sitting in the edit room looking for an effect that would, I don't even remember. We tried so many things that flashback. And I stumbled on this effect that was called snow, and I was like, is this going to make it grainy? And then it was actually snow. And we were like, and it's sort of a cool effect, and it also looks a little bit like ash. So we left it.
Yeah, it's perfect.
But yeah, happy accident.